And thank you so much for coming and spending all this time with us and inspiring us. I know you've come here for Shakespeare with the British Council and the British Film Institute, but what you've done for LGBT rights by your presence has been so inspiring to all of us here. So on behalf of the Indian LGBT community, I want to thank you especially.
Well, thank you.
Can I give you a hug? And
yes,
a kiss?
you certainly can. And I feel as a representative of the British nation, I wanted to come here and apologise for having landed you with this dreadful law.
The 377.
Yeah, you know, it's a British law. It's nothing to do with India.
Yeah, well,
So
we accept the
the-
apology,
yeah.
and we hope that our lawmakers are listening so that they can, Gandalf and Magneto has apologized, so that should be enough. But I want to start with that. You've been, over the past years, you've become such a powerful and important gay icon. You were in the top 10 on the World Pride Power list. How does it feel having all these powers? Do you have like Gandalf and Magneto powers together with your gaydom?
Well, you know, the wonderful thing about coming out is that you feel happier about yourself. You respect yourself. And anyone who comes out will discover that they will also gather the respect of their friends and strangers. And because I have a lot of friends who I never meet, fans, it's very, very easy for me to spread the message simply by being myself. But every gay person who comes out does what they can, and you can't help being politicized. You can't. Politics is really making connections. And for me to be able to make connections far away from home, like in Mumbai, is just a part of what makes life enjoyable.
Well, thank you so much. And you spoke about coming out, and I wanted to ask you about that. You chose to come out when the very controversial Section 28 was being debated. Can you tell us about that particular time and why you chose to come out when you did?
Yes, I was 49 years old, and I had been out to my friends and to people I was working with, colleagues, all my life. So I didn't feel I was living a lie in any sense. But coming out is a journey. It begins with coming out to yourself and then to your family, hopefully, and then friends, and then strangers, until there's nobody in the world you mind knowing. But as an actor, there was a bit of the journey I hadn't done, which was being prepared to talk to the media. And also talk to my blood family. I hadn't told my stepmother that I was gay.
And they found out through the public?
Well, no, I came out publicly, but just before the broadcast happened, I had to quickly go around the family and say, oh, there's something I haven't ever told you. But can you imagine? You can't. Perhaps you can. 49 years old, I went up to the north of England where my stepmother lives. She was 80 years old. And we drove out to the most beautiful view I know in England. We stopped the car, wound down the windows. It was a beautiful sunny day. And I said, Gladys, I've got something to tell you. Yes, what's that? I said, well, I've just been to San Francisco. Oh, yes, thank you for the postcard. She said, yes, and I was talking to Armistead Maupin, the author. Oh, she said, yes, I like his books. Yes, well, he and I were talking. He's gay, you know. Yes, she said, yes, I suppose he would, because some of his characters are gay. And we're talking along like this. It's a monologue of me not being able to, at 49, say to a woman I loved and had known for 35 years, this central thing about my nature. And I was stumbling and I was sweating, and it was absolutely dreadful. And in the end, stumblingly, I said, Gladys, what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm gay. And she said, oh, Ian, I thought you were going to tell me something really dreadful. I've known that for 35 years.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You see? And what happened in that moment? Our family got closer. And thank goodness she lived for another 20 years. She lived till she was 100. And we were best friends, which we hadn't truly been until then. And couldn't be, because I was lying. My sister, same with my sister, we became closer. And that's my experience. And talking to other friends, it's their experience too. Families get closer together once the honesty takes over from lying. And then when I was out, suddenly, because I was in the public eye as an actor, I became a bit of a poster boy for the issue. And if there was a conversation to be had with senior politicians like the Prime Minister and so on, It was me who was deputed to go and speak on other people's behalf. And it looked as if I was leading a campaign. I really wasn't. I was just joining in. I was one of the troops, which suits me. I'm not really a leader, but I can tell people what I think and what other people, my friends, think too. And that is very potent. I think there's nothing more powerful in the issue of gay rights if people feel able to come out and say, the issue that we're talking about is one that I take very personally. And if you don't like what I'm suggesting, then you don't like me, and I take that personally.
And being a public figure in this case meant that you were less threatening to parliamentarians, perhaps.
Yes, exactly. And shortly after I'd come out and declared myself, the Queen decided to honour me with a knighthood. And most recently, the Queen gave me a medal, called me to Buckingham Palace, and this medal was for my services to drama and my services to equality.
That's beautiful.
So even in Buckingham Palace now, the message has got through. There may be no openly gay members of the royal family, but they're very happy to have us in their home. And there has been an absolute revolution since about 1990. And now I think people will find, if they come to the UK and mix with gay people, they'll find a nation at ease with itself. And Great Britain's become a much more comfortable place for us to live in. Not just gay people.
But does it surprise you that within a relatively short span of time?
Oh yes, very short. When we went knocking on doors, we found that they swung open and people were ready to listen.
Exactly.
Easier in the UK, which is a small country. In comparison with India, I mean, you can living in London meet the politicians, and you can meet the press, the media, and who have a big influence, of course. And you can do all that on the end of a telephone, and all within walking distance. So, in America, much more difficult. Huge continent, and probably certainly in Africa, and probably in India too. But you know.
But we're connected now. I mean, you know, a lot of, whether it's activists, whether it's actors, whether it's filmmakers, whether it's citizens, because of the internet, I mean, we share so much information. So if Ireland, for example, decides to, you know, adopt same-sex marriages, people in India celebrate. If, you know, something happens with Prop 8 in California, people in England are talking about it.
Look, the social media is a revolution which we couldn't take advantage of when we were starting out on gay activism. It didn't exist. We used fax machines and letters.
What are those?
Remember letters?
I remember them, but I think some of our viewers might not. So
well, you take a pen and a piece of paper and you put dear, or my dear, whoever, and then you write your message and you put love and a kiss at the bottom.
It's like text messages, but with pens.
Yes, that's right, it is. But the coming out, I can't stress too strongly from my experience that as people have come out all over the country, politicians, sports people, some actors, teachers, judges, in every area of life, they make it easier for everybody else to accept and understand and not be frightened. You know, UK has not collapsed. Society has not dissipated into immorality. On the contrary, we have a high moral standpoint, which is we are nice to each other.
We realize
each other. And so it's an easier place for people to enjoy themselves and a good place to visit. And now the government and the tourist agency, on behalf of the government, advertise UK and London as a place where gay people will be treated well, and they're proud of that. And so it really has changed the nation for the better.
But was there anyone at this time, while you were on this coming out journey, both as yourself and then for the larger cause, did anyone say, why don't you just shut up and act? Because why are you...
I said that to myself. Oh, Ian, you're getting boring. You're saying the same old thing over and over again. But whenever I talk, as we're doing now, I think there's somebody at home, even now, sitting on the sofa, listening and hearing things that they haven't heard spoken before. and that will hopefully reassure them that there is a future, a life, and there's a happiness that will eventually be there because it's now ours, and we can show that the way forward. There was much opposition. I mean, I got death threats. Odd letters, all written in green ink, unsigned, of course. We know where you live. Well, of course you do. You've just delivered the letter. I mean, there's a bullet with your name on it. Well, it's never, you know.
Yeah.
You get that nonsense. You get people, I used to get people happy to say in public that they reviled me because of my sexuality. These days, it's impossible in the UK for a politician to say anything anti-gay. They would simply not get elected. There has been a massive revolution, and as you say, very, very quickly. And along with this opposition to the whole idea of people being gay or being honest about their being gay, actually the strongest opposition I got was from other gay people who thought they were out first, therefore they had a seniority. They didn't like me bustling in on the scene. They had notions of a society which was odds with most people's view, that they wanted actually to revolutionize the whole of society. They wanted to change it. They wanted to get rid of marriage. They wanted to break down the old alliances. And they were imagining a future that would appeal to them, but perhaps not to many other people. And they were very critical about Stonewall, the organization that I helped to start, which was not a democratic organization, it was a lobby. We appointed ourselves. But we felt that the issues were so obvious that we really didn't need to get anybody else's approval for them. And what happened actually was that it was good that there should be a spectrum. I mean, why should all gay people think the same? Of course not. We're as different in our views, in our looks, in our habits, in our experiences as any other section of society. So we're likely to have different views on how best to move forward. But
we should have the same rights.
Absolutely. The agreement was total. And of course, that acceptance of rights for gay people is now accepted by all political parties in the United Kingdom.
So this is where we are in India at this moment, right? Because you mentioned earlier that, you know, you came out and then, I mean, nothing happened and society didn't collapse, and likewise with all these changes. In 2009, we had a Delhi High Court verdict on 377, which was liberal, which was beautifully worded. It spoke of an idea of India which was plural and inclusive.
And we celebrated it.
And we celebrated it all over the world.
We celebrated back home in England.
Yes.
Hey, well done, India.
Yes.
And then
in 2013, we had a very unfortunate, but what's happened now is that the courts are confused, right? We've had a verdict in 2013 which overruled 377, which is now again going to be re-examined by a judicial bench. But the same Supreme Court also gave us a very, very positive transgender rights verdict. So we're at this interesting place now where the courts are figuring things out. And in this larger backdrop, you know, going back to what you said earlier about public figures coming out, you know, I can't think of anyone as influential as you. So we don't have an Indian Sir Ian McKellen, for example. Do you think it would help us if more and more of our celebrities?
Well, now look, you work in a commercial company that recognize your sexuality, celebrate it, give you the same privileges and rights as anybody else working for the company. Am I right?
Yeah, but it's not the norm. I mean, Godrej is very unique in that sense.
All right, it's not the norm, but it's an example that others could follow and will follow, in my view, because eventually commerce will realize that if they are not nice to their gay employees will go and work somewhere else where they are more understanding. That's the situation in the UK now. The big companies, the big international companies, all fight amongst themselves to attract gay employees and accept them on a par with everybody else. And now that's nothing to do with the law of the land. This is just society working out the problems, and those initiatives are going to happen quicker if people will stand up for themselves and take the brave step, the honest step, which will release them
Yeah.
and say, I'm gay.
Yeah.
If you once you say that, have you met a single gay person who came out who is unhappy about it?
No.
No.
No. No.
Let that be known.
Yeah.
Everybody's life is better when they come out.
Yeah.
Now, how do you do it? That's the problem. And well, you do it with your friends, and you make friends with people, and they will help you and support you and see you through the problems with the family. But again, in my experience, when somebody comes out in the family situation, the family gets closer together.
Yeah.
Surely, you like a son or a daughter who is honest with you as a parent, don't you?
Yeah.
And then the gay child is protected and helped and supported so that he or she feels she can be out at work and everywhere else. And I think if that movement can go on at the same time as you're trying to change the laws of the land,
then maybe the law will follow and recognize.
I think politicians need to feel that there is a groundswell of opinion in the country, maybe a minority, but of clear-sighted, sensible, passionate people who simply want to be treated on equal status with everybody else. If they feel that there are large numbers of them, then as responsible politicians, they have to respond to that.
Hopefully, I mean, I think we're a long way of that kind of lobbying, and maybe thinking of the Stonewall model of a lobby might be useful for us as we frame our own response to the challenges.
Does the media, the mainstream media, the newspapers, do they cover gay issues in a sensible way and a fair way?
There's a range of coverage. Again, there's a range of experiences that we've had, whether it's newspapers, television channels, and now there's, since 1991, when we opened up our media and airwaves, we have like several hundred channels now, for example, and like many thousands of newspapers. And the coverage ranges from being completely uninformed and silly to being very, very enlightened and liberal. So there's a range of coverage.
Well, a little thing I can suggest, if anybody reads anything in their newspaper which is mindlessly critical of gay people, write them a letter.
Yeah.
Because if they don't get your letter, they'll go on thinking they're saying something that their readers approve of. If they get a sense that not their readers for whom they exist don't like what they're writing, so get writing letters.
Or emails
or texts or everything else. Yes.
Or WhatsApp messages.
Yeah.
But it's very challenging because a lot of forget the coverage, a lot of the opposition that we get is so illogical that, at least for me, when I'm confronted with this, it really tests my patience, because people will use the same stupid logic of this is against our culture, whereas we know through our history or through our through our mythology, through our lived experiences, that this is very much part of our culture. Or they'll say this is unnatural, whereas you can cite any number of scientific articles to them to say that actually this is how nature operates, but they won't listen.
You've only got to look out of my window at home and look at the ducks on the River Thames, and I promise you, there are gay ducks.
Of course, and gay penguins.
And gay penguins, and gay elephants, though how they do it, I don't know.
But that's my point, right? I mean, a lot of the response is irrational.
It is irrational.
And so how do you maintain your...
Well,
I suppose I'm just asking you as therapy, how do you maintain your composure when people are saying such irrational nonsense all the time?
There are few areas of my life where I know I'm right. I can't always decide for breakfast whether to have my egg boiled or scrambled. I like to seek advice on that. Please help. But on gay issues, you and I both know we are right. Now, we are on the moral high ground. We're right. So if someone is telling us we're wrong, we know, no, it's you who's wrong. So hold on to that. Talk to your friends. Don't think it's a one-man band ever. And know that really the best argument in favor of gay people being treated equally is for gay people to become visible. If we're hiding because of the law, if we're frightened of the law and we hide, people think we're ashamed of ourselves. And therefore they think there's something that they can be critical of. So I think you are the most splendid example of what people should try and do if they can. They don't have to be like you. They just mustn't lie.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
Yeah.
It's bad for you, and it's bad for the person you're lying to, and it's bad for society, it's bad for the family, it's bad for society.
And it's not just LGBT people, right? So Kenji Yoshihino, who's this professor at NYU Law and who was at Yale Law before that, has written this book called Covering.
Yes.
Where he says that, you know, it's not just LGBT people who want to hide. It's straight people hide things about themselves all the time. I mean, there are war veterans who hide their veteran status. There are people who are dealing with, say, you know, depression,
Now,
who
why
are
is
hiding
that?
it all the
Because
time.
we all want to be the same.
Because we all want to project, I don't know, this kind of normative ideal existence, where the truth is we are all different, and that's what makes us, you know, beautiful.
I mean, it's so obvious, isn't it? You look at a million people, and they all look different.
Yeah.
That's how God created us.
Yeah.
We are all different. If we're different on the outside, why shouldn't we be different on the inside? But what must be the same is our respect for each other. But difference, variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
How boring it would be if we all put on a uniform like in North Korea and marched to the same tune. It's not how human beings are meant to be. We cooperate.
Yeah.
We love each other.
Yeah.
We organize together. Yes, we are terribly sociable.
Yeah.
But we're not all the same.
Yeah.
But we must be treated the same. That's the message.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. And it applies to gay people, straight people, transgender people, bisexual people. But actually, I'll tell you.
Men, women, I mean, if you look at the gender gap as well, right?
Old people, young people, Indians, Americans. I go around schools quite a lot in the UK, encouraging them to be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Gay or straight and so on. And I was talking to a little group of them after the big meeting. And there were three girls, and one of them spoke on behalf of the other three. And she said, so Ian, I'm going to speak for these girls. We are all bisexual.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's 16. Good. But, she said, well, when we're with a boyfriend, well, presumably we're straight, are we? And then if we're with a girlfriend, well, then presumably we're lesbian. Well, I don't know, where are we? She said, we can't be doing with these labels. We don't want labels anymore.
Yeah.
Now, that's the future, I think. No labels. We only have a label, gay, because people called us queer for so long. They pointed a finger, and we believed them, that we were somehow different.
Yeah.
Not had a difference, behaved differently, had a different sexuality, but were intrinsically different as a human being. And so we didn't like that label, so we found another label, gay.
Yeah.
These girls are the next generation, and they've had it with labels. They just want to be themselves.
Yeah.
And the law should be of the sort that allows people to do that. Be themselves.
Yeah.
As long as they don't harm anybody else, the world becomes a richer place.
And give people the same rights, whether to exist as citizens, whether to marry or not marry.
That's right.
That's the, and I want to talk to you about that, because through Stonewall, you already mentioned that you were lobbying. Why is it that you've been so successful at lobbying with parliamentarians and getting them to listen to your point of view and actually achieving change? A lot of other lobby groups might not have had the same success, because we're going through this process in India where we're starting to
Well, I don't know. I think it's a very English thing. As I say, we're a small country.
Yeah.
I went to the same sort of school, had the same sort of education, and the same sort of age, went to the same sort of university as the people who are now running the government.
Yeah.
We're very, very, very similar people. It just happens that I'm gay and most of them are straight.
Yeah.
So when I go in and make the argument, they're already almost on my side because they don't feel threatened. They know I'm thoroughly respectable. They know where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to bring down the state.
Yeah.
I just want to change the status quo. And as politicians, they understand that change is often necessary. But I think it was because we all had, there was a range of people in Stonewall, 10 men and 10 women, all out, all honest.
Yeah.
and therefore impressive in a certain way. And I think we were helped because we were the respectable gays. We were the gays you could invite to a dinner party and we wouldn't cause a fuss. But on the other side of the gay rights movement, there were activists who were out on the streets, interrupting meetings, waving flags, being rude, shouting. And the government got rather nervous about these activists, and they thought, oh no, there's trouble there, but we're happy to talk to Stonewall, and then we don't have to talk to those people. So I think in the gay rights movement that there's room for all sorts.
And any smart movement needs both, right?
Yes, but what we don't need
is them fighting with each other.
We don't need them fighting with each other, and we don't need them actually fighting in the streets. Now, the gay rights movement in the United Kingdom is unique in that there has been no violence. Nobody was killed. Nobody was hurt. Not true of suffragettes. They were very violent on occasion. Not true of black changes in attitudes to black people. Well, think of apartheid and all the violence of that. But the gays have been peaceable, and they've made the argument. It's an intellectual argument to be made, and something from the heart as well. And yeah, I think all gay activists should know, however they choose to express themselves, that the aim is the same, that we should all be treated equally under the law, and then, hopefully, a longer journey, treated equally socially by all groups, of course, and all individuals.
Yeah, at least in India, over the past few years, what has helped us is reframing the argument as one of inclusion, especially with relation to our families. You mentioned your own story of your stepmother earlier in the conversation, and a lot of the success, at least in public perception, has come. It's not just LGBT people coming out, but also families coming out and saying that, you know, my son happens to be gay and I want him. And these again, as you said, these are not threatening people. These would be ordinary mothers and grandmothers wearing salwar suits and debating very confidently on television, for example, saying that I don't see why you have a right, you know, if I've accepted my son.
And their witness can be particularly strong because they may well say, when my child told me they were gay, I was horrified. I was frightened because I thought it meant they were going to have a miserable life. I was confused because I had never met another gay person. I blamed myself. I thought there was something wrong. My husband and I were in distress. And then their love won through, and the family came closer together, and then that mother and father who were initially confused can say to other parents, don't worry, it'll be fine. And your family will become closer knit, and together we'll go out and make the points and help other people.
We see that happening all the time at, you know, there's an organization called Gay Bombay. And we have Gay Bombay parent meets all the time, and this scene is replayed at almost every parent meet, where some parents come out and speak and then other parents address them. And there's tears and there's happiness.
And when parents have gone on the journey and then realize what a miserable life their kids have had until the point at which they felt they could be honest and say, I'm gay.
And that's magical. And we had, so at our Godrej India Culture Lab, we had this play called Ek Madhav Bagh, which is about a mother who discovers her son's diary and discovers by reading the diary that he happens to be gay. The kind of reaction we had from parents in the audience after that was just incredible. We had all these mothers sobbing and then coming up and telling the actress who played the role of the mother, I don't know what my child is, but I'm just going to go back and give her a hug. And I mean, it's that, right? I mean, it's that realization.
How dare the law?
And how dare the law decide?
Get involved and try and divide families. It's the law that's attacking the families, you know. It's not homosexuality.
And often it's not even the law, but it's the threat of the law in a Foucauldian sense of the law being this panopticon which observes us and.
But as long as the bad laws are in place, the people with the stupid views can say, well, laws
they can use the law to threaten. They can use the law to.
Just as they use their holy books
on
occasion.
So that's the challenge. I want to go back to a comment you made in an interview, I think some months ago, about how the whole quest for marriage equality has come a little too late for you in your life. And if you were a 20-year-old
Are you
today,
about to propose?
wouldn't we love that? But I don't do
We
long.
have, we have
I don't
something
do,
to tell you. No,
I don't do long distance, Al. You'll have to move to India if you want to be with me.
it's too hot for me.
We'll have to get you a career in Bollywood.
Okay.
But what, if you were 20 today, I mean.
Oh,
and I
well,
think
who
you
knows?
mentioned
I can't imagine. I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm such a selfish person. Witness my career. I mean,
Yeah.
I spent an awful lot of time
Yeah.
bothering about being an actor and
Yeah.
trying to get better at it. And that's had its rewards. But when my straight friends were getting married, I thought, oh, the best thing about being gay is you don't have to get married. And you don't have to be children. You can be really selfish.
Yeah.
And I admire no one more than parents and teachers.
Yeah.
People who are looking after the next generation. They are my heroes, and I try and help out. But to be one of them is beyond my capabilities, certainly by this time. And, I'm delighted marriage is available. Although not yet in the Northern Ireland, which is a part of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Still, those people are resisting and saying we don't want marriage for...
Yeah. Well, for us in India, it's far away on the horizon. We have to do away with 377 first. But despite that, there's a lot of, say, young 20-year-olds in India who now imagine their future as including marriage. Like, what would be your advice to them? If this is
Well, my advice to them is to
keep on dreaming.
only get married to the person you really love, and it's a big step to take.
Yeah.
And I hope one day it will be available to you. I don't be too pessimistic. I know. Day by day, you think, is this ridiculous situation, which we've been landed in by colonial forces and by prejudices and about the stupid views of, on the whole, old men who are in charge of our religions. Will we ever get through to a time when we can just run through the fields and be free and enjoy the sunshine and each other? Yes, is the answer. The time will come, and it may come quicker than you think. But that doesn't mean to say that we don't have to keep working for it.
Yeah.
Keep working for it, so that when the laws are challenged, when ignorance is challenged, it's being challenged from many quarters, by many people with many sorts of experience, who simply stand on that high ground of morality and say, everyone should be treated the same.
Yeah. No, I don't.
But we are not the same. We're all different.
Yeah. I'm not pessimistic at all. I'm
Good.
super optimistic, and each day I go through this range of, there's horrible stuff happening, but then I look at incredible stories of courage and hope happening literally all around me, and I'm like, this is to me, hope or optimism is like a compass that I want to orient myself towards.
And is
every
there
day
anything you think that people far away in the United Kingdom can do to help?
I think in today's world, anything that they can, because I think a lot of the activist movements of today, or the human rights movements, even if you look at the history of India's LGBT, the recent history of India's LGBT struggle, Bombay Dost and the Humsafar Trust, which, Bombay Dost was the first magazine that came out of India, and Humsafar Trust was the first NGO, were both formed in conversation with the diaspora, with diasporic Indians from either, who had started a magazine called Tricone, which was on the west coast of the US, or in England. So I think these global linkages have been there forever. And, as we do more history, and we do more anthropological work and try and, theorize our existence, we just realize that how none of us are insular.
No.
So what can people in the UK do? Be part of this conversation.
Yes, exactly. And when you come out, you become an internationalist.
Exactly.
You can't help it, because sexuality is above nationhood, really.
Yeah.
It's not contradictory, but it's there. And when we were fighting in the UK, we took the inspiration of the of Stonewall in America, and the witness of people in San Francisco, in literature and in life. And then we were helped greatly by being members of the European Union, which had laws that superseded national laws. That's how gay people were allowed to serve in the military. That was an order given from Europe. Now I want us to stay in Europe in order to help other European countries that haven't got as far as we can. And I know that the Commonwealth, it may not mean much here, I don't know, but the Queen is still very keen on the Commonwealth. She doesn't want to let go her links with the old empire. And there is movements within the Commonwealth for countries on this issue to communicate and bear witness and see how experience in one country can help in another. So you're not on your own.
So there is a lot of work happening with the UN, for example, and the others. What's also interesting is, again, and one of the arguments that we've been unpacking is that if a lot of the conversation at a national and international level about India is that of a global, not just an emerging, but an emerged global economy, or a superpower that has enough stature to take its rightful place on the world table. So the way we are framing the LGBT discourse in that is that if you want to be, if we want to be a global superpower, we cannot be a global superpower on the back of discrimination against a large part of.
And I think international commerce is understanding that they can't start discriminating against their workforce because they're gay or disabled or whatever it is. And no, absolutely, and India's got to be part of that modernity, which is a good. People are often frightened of change, but when it's changed for the better, isn't that what human life is all about? Surely we're trying to get better, aren't we? We're trying to understand what the experience of life is, and we've only got 70 years to do it in. We can't hang around. I remember going to talk to Tony Blair before he became Prime Minister. He said, yes, we want to put gay rights into the script, he said. I said, what script is this? He said, oh, it's a script, a description of the world I want my grandchildren to live in. I said, Mr. Blair, we can't wait till you've got grandchildren, because I'm going to be dead by then. It's my life you're talking about. That's the wonderful thing that if you're out, you can do. You say, this isn't a dry academic subject. This isn't theory. This is the practicality of my life, and the life of my friends and our families.
At a smaller level, we did that at Godrej when I joined, and one of the things that we realized was that the non-discrimination policy did not include LGBT non-discrimination. So I went to my boss, who happens to be Nisa Godrej, who is from the Godrej family, and I said, it would be nice, I want to work for a company that does not discriminate against me because of who I am. She was like, well, we can change it. Let's change it right now, right? I mean, it's because I didn't want to wait for some future. I mean, it's a smaller level, it's one company. But I think it's just that, right? I mean, I think if you can push the immediacy of it on people.
Just after Nelson Mandela had become released from prison and became president of the Republic of South Africa, there was a move afoot to get into the Constitution a clause that would say it would be illegal to discriminate on grounds of sexuality. And I was doing a one-man show to help them raise funds, and they said one day, they said, would I go and meet Mandela? I said, well, of course. And they said, well, we'll take with you a young lesbian student and a young gay man, and the three of you will talk to Madiba and see if he would agree to lend his name to this initiative. Well, we did. We talked to him for 20 minutes. And why would anyone be surprised that the man who'd spent all his life fighting discrimination, suffering 27 years in prison, shouldn't understand that gay people had the same rights as everybody else? And he did, and he said it. And it's now in the constitution of that country. And the other great man who, alas, I'll never meet, but who's premises I went to visit. It's the only bit of sightseeing I've done here is to go and see where Gandhi walked and talked, and some of his books are still there. And just reading his quotations, I was thinking, which side would he be on? Yeah. And I think it's pretty obvious, isn't it?
On inclusion, clearly.
Inclusion,
clearly. I want to talk a little bit about theater and film, if I may. Let's start with film. You're here for Kashish, which is one of the largest LGBT film festivals now in the world.
Yes.
And you've also acted in a bunch of films with LGBT themes, whether it's And the Band Played On, whether it's Gods and Monsters. What is your take on the status of LGBT cinema in the world right now? And what you're seeing, are you excited? Are you?
Well, I don't think I'm an expert on it because I haven't seen all the films. But
you go to festivals, you see.
I think the movement of which I'm proud to have been a part with Gods and Monsters and also a film called Bent, which was based on a play about the situation of gay people under the Third Reich and Hitler's labor camps. They were at the start of a movement which is now gathering pace all over the world in all film industries to tell the same truth about gay people as about straight people. I mean, when I was growing up, if there was a gay character in the movie or in the play, they would be camp, they would be effeminate. Yes, they were the villain, and quite rightly, before the last reel, they would die. Well, the films that come to Kashish and are being made, not just in India, but all around the world, are actually, just being honest, the film industry has come out, as it were. And if film doesn't tell the truth about human nature, what is its purpose? It has a responsibility, and so and can be very, very potent for lonely people. I mean, if there's one thing that really gets me tearful and upset about these conversations and the work you do, and you are a hero, is that there are so many people whose lives are being made miserable unnecessarily by people who simply don't understand. They're on their own. They get mentally and physically abused. They may lose their family because of the family can't understand it, and they find it difficult to make friends. And even in this age of social media, where to and fro and so on, maybe there's nowhere where they can go and have a quiet meal and a cup of tea with somebody who will listen to them and understand. And it's bringing them into the family of the nation and the family of kindness and love, which is what human beings need to survive.
And possibility, right?
Possibility.
Let's talk about your first love, theater. What is it about Shakespeare and theater and gay people? Are we all just a big bunch of drama queens? Or well, on a
well, yeah, that is a point of view, but there are a lot of gay people who in the theatre business.
Yeah.
And until recently, they were nervous about saying they were gay.
Yeah.
Except within the workplace, and that's how I managed to survive until I was 49, absolutely openly gay, backstage with my friends and colleagues. But the law said to me, you may not express yourself. We don't want to hear from you. You've got to be a private person. You've got to be a secretive person. You keep yourself to yourself. And being a law-abiding Englishman, that's what I tried to do. And it made me very unhappy. Where I got my emotional release was, of course, with my relationships I had and my friendships. But I wasn't allowed to express the joy I got from that in public. I couldn't put my arm around the man I was sleeping with at night in public. I might be accused of causing a breach of the peace. One place where I could indulge my emotions and express them and be open and public with them was by disguising, being inside another character. I may explain why so many men and women who were gay found acting as a release. Well, I wonder if now that the laws have changed, we'll find there are more straight people going into the theatre. And I suspect we are. And gay people won't need to find the disguise of playing a part. But when I came out, my acting changed. My acting up to that point had been about disguise. When I came out, overnight, my acting became about revelation, telling the truth. And I discovered I could cry on stage.
After you came out.
After I came out. My life was better in every single way once I came out. And I think that's true of us all. So, but now, I mean, it's a habit, isn't it? I've got into, I act. But I'm still learning, and I'm still enjoying it. And when I feel I know it all, then I'll stop. But you know, I don't think a pianist ever imagines he will retire until the fingers give way. And it's the same with me. And if the legs give way, well, then I'll have to spend my time on radio.
No, we don't want you to retire. We want you to come to Bollywood, come here and make films with us.
Well, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday. This was a lovely present from the Taj Mahal Hotel where I'm staying, and they're nice to everybody, including...
Yes, and we have a small gift for you as well. So we have an annual Mr. Gay India contest every year.
Yes.
And so for the past few years, we've been selecting a Mr. Gay India.
Yes.
So this is Mr. Gay India 2016.
Where? My darling.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to Sain. Very starstruck, right?
Go on, happy birthday.
To you.
Birthday to you.
Ian McKellen,
Am I allowed to have a hug with...
You are allowed to have a hug.
Thank you very, very much. Oh, bless your heart. Thank you. That's very, very kind of you. And congratulations on what, you're Mr. Gay?
Mr. Gay India.
Yeah. And I'm 20.
But you're the future. Yes. You are the future. And here's an old man, well, I'm from the past, but we're all in the future, aren't we?
We're all in the future. Would you like to blow your candle?
I'm just going to wish something. Thank you very much.
Ian McKellen, thank you.